unless they're forced to.
Because I think, as I say, they can't be forced to, they've got to be educated to. And it's the same that if we became commercial, you will forget price way before you forget quality when you're buying something. It isn't the price, it's the quality of what you do. I was talking to someone today about iPads, and they never once mentioned the price of it because it did what they wanted it to do. And that's all we're going to do within this country, within the environment. And if people are doing that, then people will only buy and deal with the companies that are helping and sustaining what is happening in the environment. And that is what I think will happen more and more. And you're getting it more in the way that people talk. Why would you deal with this company? And that's why I think we have to be local companies. I've always said that our quarry manager is now the old vicar of society. You used to have a vicar in every little parish, and he looked after people. Now they're gone. There's a very small following, but as more people get involved in quarrying in those areas, and they're going to be looking after what is happening in the environment.
Come on, how much of that would you go along with? Is Bill right to say that companies will be educated, that things will improve, that every company will eventually operate perhaps in the way that Aggregate does, or do you think that's wonderfully naive and devoutly to be wished, but perhaps not terribly realistic in 2011?
What I'd say is that a couple of things. That the first thing is that we're re-rehearsing the old argument between Rousseau and Hobbes. Is it a carrot and stick? Is it education? Is it a policing function? And I think in many respects it's both. It's not an either-or. So, I mean, Bill's quite an enlightened leader, therefore, in a way, he's not a very good example for us to be looking at in terms of the corporate sector. The corporate sector have pressures on it, and the pressures are often through the institutional funders, like the pensions, fund managers, to produce never-ending and always increasing levels of profit. Now, I think these things are just not sustainable, and I think there is a role for the state in all of this, which is to reduce the pressure on the companies by having a level playing field. And I totally agree with Bill on the issue of quality, which is that people are really driven towards quality, but they're also driven to companies like the Co-op, which I mentioned earlier, who are highly ethical. We are drawn to them, not for price, but because we feel an affinity at the level of values with these organisations. I think that is going to be the real challenge. And the final thing I would say on all of this is that there's a very important role for the state, which is to create a regulatory framework, a level playing field, so you don't get these kind of maverick capitalist outfits running in one particular direction when everybody else is trying to behave ethically. I think that's where the policing of the state is very, very important, and we should hit the commuter very hard. Actually reward people who are working more than right and that. And I think it needs to be accountability. We can't afford to be naive, as I suspect. Without that strong regulatory framework, people will do whatever they think at the end of the day.
Finally, let's just say let's his hands with the microphone. Fantastic, thank you very much. Perhaps you want to give us a sense of which sector you work in?
Yes, Simon van der Waal, representing the industry side as now the Executive Director of the Mineral Products Association. Bill might recall that it's actually my 16th anniversary today of joining the industry. And I would say that there's a huge step change in attitude. Bill's quite precisely, and actually Carlo's too, about the education of the industry from within as well as from without. But also there's a bit of peer pressure going on because they all belong to the association, as it were, and the association creates some mores, some standards. And Bill quite often is in the lead in all of this, taking new initiatives. But the others catch up because they know they can't afford to be behind it. So there's a bit of peer pressure going on there, I think, and it is a genuine step change without any doubt in the last 15, 16 years, for the better. So I think in answer to the question, the answer is yes, and it won't be that long either. I mean, we're almost sort of win-win now, I think. The question I have though is, will the localism agenda actually make this easier or not?
Yes, that's very distinct. Localism make it harder.
I thought we'd get back into politics.
Had to happen.
Although I may think they're doing the right things generally, I think localism is an issue. I think it's a big issue for the government, and I think in terms of quarrying it becomes an even bigger issue as to how can you decide what is happening locally. And it comes back a bit to your big society as well. I think they have got confused as to how they're going to go forward, and how do you build HS2 from Birmingham to London under localism. You know, we're going to have to get off the train every 50 miles, take a bus from next bit and things that you go through there. And what I heard today is, I've been in CBI, is that there are even people from within, I'm afraid, the Conservative government not understanding how they can operate this localism properly, especially if you move down to minerals. Now, minerals are now already being lifted away from it, aren't they? Yeah, so really they're starting to make exceptions.